Welcome to the Fulfilment Recipe. Each session is split into two halves, an audio file which explains the theory and the underpinning knowledge behind the practices, which you will find on video file in section 2. Good luck. The Fulfilment Recipe, session 1, Introduction to Meditation and Mindfulness. What is mindfulness? I like the description from author Jon Kabat-Zinn, which goes like this. It's about paying attention deliberately, on purpose, and non-judgmentally to the present moment. So it's an appreciation of presence, the here, the now. Present moment awareness that can be applied to any situation. So you're aware of what you're doing while you're doing it. So think about washing the dishes, not that anybody washes the dishes anymore, but bringing together all of your 5 senses. So to that present moment, because it makes the moment alive when you're really focusing on what you're doing. So what do you see? You see the iridescent colours of the bubbles. What do you hear? You hear the splish splash of the water. What do you smell? You smell the fairy liquid. What do you feel? You feel the temperature and the softness of the water. So it's kind of really paying attention to all of those 5 senses to make that moment come alive. Because most people are thinking about the next moment. In fact, a Harvard study recently said that 47% of people spend their time thinking about something other than what they are doing at that moment. So about half of us are living life in the head, waiting for the next moment. And that's what the mind does. It has a couple of modes. It has mind in the past, which is what we call regret mode. This is shoulda, woulda, coulda. When he said that, I should have said that. It's kind of living with regret. The mind constantly delving into the past. I wish I'd said that. I wish I'd done that. Regret mode. And then the mind is projected into the future, which is what we call worry mode. This is the what if scenarios. What if this happens? What if that doesn't happen? It's very rare that the mind is in the here and the now. It's like that monkey mind is constantly jumping around, checking into the past, checking into the future, both of which you have no control over. Recent studies show that running on autopilot doesn't make us happy. So we're on that treadmill of life. And then we get the curveballs. Life throws us stresses, traumas, events. And oftentimes it takes a dramatic or a traumatic event to stop us in our tracks, to get off that treadmill and look at what the hell we're doing to ourselves and how we're living our life. And is it making us happy? So we know that living on that autopilot doesn't make us happy. And society's obsession with multitasking doesn't allow us to fully focus on each stage of the experience because we're constantly doing several things at once and not fully paying attention to just one thing, giving it our all 100%. So think about if you were sitting on a park bench and maybe you were just watching the world go by and a couple come past and they're arguing. Think about what the mind wants to do initially. The mind generally wants to judge, make a judgment about the people that you're seeing. Sometimes it wants to change something or control the moment somehow. But remember, the definition of mindfulness is just paying attention on purpose, non-judgmentally. And that's what the mind does. We see something, we want to change it, control it, judge it. But just for a moment, mindfulness is just sitting back and allowing the moment to unfold just as it is, not trying to change anything, not making any judgments about anything. So one of the first things that we do in mindfulness is we watch, like a witness watching a movie. It's called witness consciousness. Let's just imagine you're watching a movie on the TV. You don't want to dive in, step into the TV and interfere with the actors. You're just sitting, observing, passively noticing what's going on. The other thing to do is listen. And if I said, shh, just for one moment, you really pay attention and you listen just for a few seconds and there's no thought. So listening is a mindful practice. Listening is a really underrated skill. Most people hear what others are saying, but in the background, they're kind of judging what they're saying. They're waiting for their turn to jump in and say something. Listening is a really difficult skill. So think about some examples of mindfulness. When you've got to be mindful. Well, maybe when you're learning a new skill. Let's say you're learning a new dance routine. You've got to pay attention to your steps. You're not going to step on your partner. Anything new that you're learning for the first time, you've really got to pay attention. If you're learning to drive for the first time, you're going to have to really pay attention to the road, to the steering wheel, to exactly what you're doing. Otherwise, it can be dangerous if you're not paying attention 100%. You might have heard the saying, of an athlete, keep your eye on the ball. If you're a footballer or any kind of sports star, you really got to focus 100% on what you're doing to the exclusion of everything else, because you're going to be a much better player, a much better athlete. Or like a boxer who's in the zone. They could have blinkers on. There could be millions of people in the audience, but they are so focused on their opponent. They have to be. Otherwise, they're going to get knocked out. So they're in the zone. They're in that moment. It's almost like a state of super consciousness. Let's think about examples of not being mindful. Well, let's say, ever had that experience of you're reading a book and you've read the same page over and over, maybe 4 or 5 times, but it's still not going in because your mind's gone somewhere else. And what does that mean? It means you were thinking about the book and then you got distracted and the mind's now thinking about something else. So it's not being mindful, it's being distracted. Also, driving, when we first learn to drive, we really pay attention. But after a few years, we're kind of driving on autopilot. Let's say you're in the car with your friend and you're in the driver's seat, your friend's in the passenger seat, and you're having a really deep conversation. And when you get to your destination, you could probably relay all the contents of the conversation, but maybe not how you got there. You can't even think about the roads because you weren't really paying that much attention. You were more focused on the conversation. So what's the downfalls, the pitfalls of not being mindful? Well, if we're unaware and not conscious, then all of our actions and our decisions are affected. How many sunsets, how many smiles have you missed because you're on your phone checking social media, checking emails, browsing the web. And you miss your life if you live like that, if we're constantly obsessed with our phones and we start living life in our head. And then we tend to create mountains out of molehills, making things bigger than they really are, over-analyzing, overthinking, catastrophic thinking. And the mind becomes overwhelmed. And the other consequence of not being mindful is when we're stuck on a past moment, it spoils the present moment. And I'm going to give you a little everyday example of that. I'm going to use my daughter, Amy. When she was at school, I used to pick her up from the metro. And one lunchtime, she rang me. And she wanted to go with her friend after school to get her eyebrows done. And I said no, because I had to pick her up at 4:45 from the metro and then I had to go to work. So I didn't have time to wait because I was teaching a class. So I said no, and that was the end of it. Except it wasn't. So this is at lunchtime and now we're sort of 5 hours down the line, I picked her up and she gets in the car and I'm having a conversation, or I thought I was, asking her how her day was, and I get one-word answers. I'm thinking, oh, right, okay. And I kept asking questions and again getting one-word answers. And then I clicked, oh, she's in the huff. She's in the huff from 5 hours ago and she still hasn't got over it. So now I'm being, inverted commas, punished because I didn't let her get her eyebrows done. So when I clicked, I thought, all right, okay, I know what's happening here. So she came in, went straight upstairs, came down for a dinner, went straight back upstairs. And I thought, okay, I'll just let her be. When it came to saying goodnight, she got herself all upset. And I said, well, look, it was a choice. You didn't have to be this way. You could have had a nice night, but instead you carried on being in the huff from 5 hours ago when that moment has long since passed, and it didn't have to be this way. But it was your choice. And of course, as a teenager, she went, oh, Mom, shut up with the mindfulness crap, at the time. And then, of course, next morning, everything's fine. No problem at all. She's got over it and it's all back to normal again. Now, that's just a really small example of someone holding on to a past moment and allowing it to spoil the present moment. Because she's still stuck 5 hours ago in the huff, hasn't got over it, and now it's spoiling the night. And so, of course, she got herself upset. So, but let's just imagine, that's just a really small example, but let's imagine it's something much bigger than not getting your eyebrows done. Some of life's big issues. So it doesn't just spill into the rest of the day, it spills into the next day and the day after that, and maybe the week after that, and maybe the month after that, and maybe the year after that, where we're still not getting over what somebody did to us, what somebody said to us. And it's a very high price to pay. So if we did a cost-benefit analysis ratio, the cost of carrying your past around with you is 100%. It's too heavy a price to pay. The benefit of carrying the past around is a big fat zero. It has zero benefit. What relevance is it to this moment unfolding right here, right now, if your parents split up when you were 12 years old? It's of no consequence to the moment that's unfolding right now. But if you let it, if you're harboring any kind of negative emotions or bitterness or anything like that, then it's going to spoil and poison the present moment. So if that's the sort of pitfalls of not being mindful, what are the benefits of being mindful? Well, we talk about a beginner's mind. And having a beginner's mind means the mind is really open. It's almost like you've experienced something for the first time, like learning a new dance, learning anything for the new time. It's a first time experience where we're going in with a beginner's open mind. Now, I like watching those prison programs on TV, and I'll tell you a story about a guy I was watching in America. I don't know how long he'd been incarcerated, but he served his time, and there was very little recreational time where they actually went outside. There was a lot of indoor recreation time. So the cameras are following him out as he comes out of the steps of the prison, and he's looking up at the sky as if he'd never seen it before, with a beginner's mind. He's kind of in awe. And all the colours, you can imagine the colours in a drab prison for years. He's looking at the green grass, the trees, and he's kind of, it's like he's landed from Mars and he's never seen it before. So it's almost like that beginner's mindset, and he's bringing all of his five senses. He's looking at the colours, he's smelling the trees, the flowers, and he's really taking it all in as if he's in complete awe, wonderment. And then, in contrast, somebody walks past him on their phone, just walking along the street, not being mindful, the complete antithesis. So when we are mindful, we tend to listen to people more with our full attention. We listen to their words, to their voice, to their feelings. It's almost like we're reading behind the lines, because people don't always tell the truth. So it's trying to read body language as well as listen to the words, as if you just met them. No second guessing what they're going to say, no judging what they're saying, no waiting to speak. And if you can be really mindful and listen and be interested and be patient, it definitely improves your relationships. Listen with patience, trust and acceptance, and have an open mind, because then we're going to be better communicators. The trick really, and one of the main benefits of mindfulness, is to learn to respond rather than react. Now, react, when somebody says something to us that we don't like, our gut instinct is to react out of habit. And then, we regret it later. Speak first, think later. Too late now. Now we regret it. So reactions come from our programming. We're actually programmed by the age of 6 from our parents, watching our parents. We have their genes, and our grandparents before that. And so our patterning and conditioning and habits are actually all in place by the age of 6. And so when we're not thinking, when we're not conscious, all of our habits are stored in the subconscious mind. Sub meaning below consciousness. And in fact, 95% of our day is run by the subconscious mind. There's nobody in there. It's just a load of programs, Put the chip in, press play, it runs the programs. So, and that means that only 5% of our day we're using the conscious mind, meaning we are aware of what we're going to say before we say it. We're going to be aware of our behavior, be aware of our thoughts. 5% of our day. So the goal of this course is really to become much more conscious. And by becoming more conscious, thinking before we speak, not reacting to what somebody's done or said from these subconscious habits and patterns, but responding instead. Responding means that there's a pause, there's a considered response, meaning that we think about what we're going to say and we respond after pressing the pause button, not biting someone's head off, and we respond from the conscious mind rather than reacting habitually from the subconscious patterns. Also, we tend not to take things personally. So when somebody offends us in some way, shape or form, we don't go into that victim mentality. We don't take things personally. We have the ability to see the bigger picture. I'll give you an example of that. Let's say you're walking out in the woods, in the forest, and you come across a little dog. It's kind of hiding from behind a tree. So you go out to stroke the dog, and the dog goes for you, it bites your hand. Now, your initial reaction from habit will be to go, oh, pull your hand away and think, oh, maybe what a horrible dog, or make some kind of judgment about the dog. And that's what most of us do. We take the world of appearances, what we see on the surface, and we make a lot of assumptions about things, situations, and our fellow humans. What if we look a little bit beyond the surface, beyond the facade, what you might then see if you take the time is the dog's caught its leg in a trap and it's stuck and it's hurting. And that's why it's lashing out, because it's hurting. And there's a saying, hurt people, meaning people that are hurting internally for whatever trauma that is going on in their lives, then go on to hurt others. They hurt others by lashing out, or in this case, the dog is biting because it's hurting, doesn't know how to deal with it. And our fellow humans are the same. We have all have stresses and strains and baggage, and perhaps we haven't processed those emotions fully. And we're hurting internally, so we go out and we lash out to other people. We take things personally. But if we can step back, meditate, slow our mind down, we can maybe just see beyond the facade of our fellow humans, see the bigger picture. Or we notice, the dog's in a trap. That's why it's hurting. And then we understand. It makes more sense to us now, instead of judging on surface level. So we're more in control with our emotions when we are mindful, because we can slow ourselves down when we meditate. Also, we do a better job when we're 100% focused on the task in hand. Of course, we're a better driver when we're paying attention to the road and not to our phone or having a conversation. So one of the things to do is check in with yourself regularly throughout the day and ask yourself questions. Why am I doing this? Does this make me happy? Could I be doing this in a better way? And it's liberating to let go of controlling ways, and also to let go of the need to control the outcome. And it's a challenge to be free from expectations, opinions, judgments, fear. I'll give you an example of expectations. When you expect something, you're kind of almost setting yourself up for disappointment. I'm going to give you an example. When I was doing a particular teacher training course, and bearing in mind, I have run accredited training courses for many, many years. And therein lies the problem, because I know the level of expectation when a course is accredited and the things that you have to do. This particular course I went on wasn't accredited, however, yet my expectations were still the same, still high. And when those expectations weren't met because several things didn't go right on the course, then I started, my mind, as it does, everybody's mind starts making judgments. Well, this isn't a very good course, and why hasn't this been done? Well, that was wrong, and all these things. And then it was only on day 3 that I realized what I was doing to myself, or what the mind was doing by making these judgments. It was kind of placing a barrier there. And as a result, I wasn't enjoying the course. And on day 3, it occurred to me, oh my God, I know what I'm doing. I've put all these expectations. I'm making all these judgments and opinions, and as a result, I'm not enjoying the course. So I came back to my own personal mantra throughout life, which has always served me, and it's this. Everything in your life right now is as it should be. So, if you're going through some crap, then you're meant to go through that crap, because it's going to teach you something. In fact, most of our dark periods in life are our biggest opportunities for growth. If we don't become a victim to it, if we can step into our power and learn to look at things in a different way, with a different perception, then we can make that transition from victim to master, and we let go of the expectations and the judgments. And, there's always lesson in pain. There's growth in pain and hard times. So, if you don't understand why things are happening, that's okay. But as long as you have that blind faith and trust in the universe, this is happening for a reason. It doesn't feel very good right now. I feel vulnerable. I'm experiencing pain. All of these things are part and parcel of the human condition that we all experience, all humans experience to some degree or another. But to have enough trust and faith that, okay, I don't understand it and it doesn't feel good, but I know when I come out of the other side of this, I'll be wiser and stronger. There's a saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. That it's happening for a reason, because you've come here to learn certain lessons. And, to learn lessons. Nobody really learns lessons when we're all having a good time. We learn lessons when life kind of slaps us across the face and makes us pay attention and deal with stuff. So, maybe there's some karma to pay and some lessons to learn, but you'll have to go through it anyway. So when I realized I was doing this, I kind of had a little chuckle to myself, because I know I'd been here before, and I realized, it took me 2 days to realize, Emma, you are spoiling your own experience because you're judging it and you're expecting this, but you're not getting that. You're getting this instead. And then when I realized that, and I brought my little motto to my head, everything in your life, right here, right now, is as it should be. And if I believe my own motto, and I do, then I'm on the right course, with the right teacher, at the right time, and with the right people. And as soon as I got that, I let go of everything. I let go primarily of the resistance to the course, to the teacher, to everything. And as I did that, I just relaxed. It's kind of a place of surrender almost. And I started to enjoy it. And then it all changed from there, just because I changed my mindset. If you can't change anything in the external world, what you can change is your attitude towards it. And so now we come to meditation. That's mindfulness. But let's talk about meditation. What is it? Well, it's a technique for resting the mind, for finding inner peace. It's not part of any religion. It's a science in that it follows a particular order, has definite principles, and produces results that can be verified. It's of Vedic origin, meaning the Vedas are the oldest texts of Hinduism, probably around 5,000 years old. And it's really about attaining a state of consciousness that is different from the waking everyday state. In other words, it's making us consciously conscious of our own consciousness. It's training the mind not to be distracted in that endless churning. So think of a mind gym. Like you go to a normal gym and you might do some bicep curls with some weights, and you'll train your muscles and they will get stronger as a result. If we train our mind in mental attention, we get mentally strong. So have a think how many thoughts we have every day. It's been estimated that we have between 60,000 and 90,000 thoughts per day, most of which we've had the day before that, and the day before that, and the day before that. So how can we clear space in the mind to create new thoughts and new ways of thinking? Well, we have to create that space, and the primary way of creating that space is to quiet the mind via breath work and meditation. So our challenge is really to gain control of our internal world. So think of an astronaut. An astronaut explores outer space. What we want to do is be our own internal astronaut, exploring our internal space, our inner dimensions. And except for meditation, there's no method to truly develop control over the totality of the mind other than meditation. So to still the mind and enter silence, or what we call the gap, requires daily practice of sitting still, doing nothing, watching the breath, and doing whatever meditation practice you choose, whether that's following the breathing, whether it's following a guided meditation, whether it's repeating mantra, whatever it is. The mind starts to quiet down, and it awakens us beyond the conditioned mind, the patterned mind, the habit mind, to reveal the true nature of reality and experience a different state of consciousness than we're used to in this material third dimension world. So think of your childhood. We're really taught to examine the external world. We're not really taught to look within and explore our internal world, to find within. And so people seek happiness by turning to external objects. Or if I just had this house, I'd be happy. If I just had that new car, that new bag, I'd be happy. If I had a new job, I'd be happy. If I had a new partner, I'd be happy. So we turn to external objects and events for satisfaction. But of course, we get tired of the shiny new toy. You know, we've had the bag 2 months now, or the car 2 months now. The sheen has worn off. And now we're kind of in a slump again. That high, that rush of adrenaline maybe when we first got it is now worn off. And, you know, we start to seek pleasure elsewhere. We need the next new bag or the next new car because external objects fail to bring happiness. So it's to learn to find happiness within. And the direct route to the internal world is via breath work and meditation. So meditation can't really be described because it has to be experienced. Of course, you can read descriptions, but they don't mean anything unless you've had that direct experience yourself. Otherwise, it's like trying to explain colours to a blind person. Where do you start? How do you explain the colour red to somebody that has no sight and has never been able to see? Or how do you explain the taste of chocolate to somebody that's never had sweet food in their life? Where do you start? It's very difficult to explain because you've got to have that experience yourself. So we can give you the tools. You know, it's a bit like trying to teach someone how to go to sleep. You know, you can't teach sleep. You can set the conditions for a good night's sleep. Turn the light off, close the curtains, lie down on a flat surface, make somebody warm. But you can't teach them how to sleep. Sleep comes as a result of you setting the right condition. And it's the same with meditation. You set the right conditions, you give someone the tools, but the state of mind that is attained from meditation, when you transcend all thought and you have a different experience of your own consciousness, you cannot teach that. It has to be experienced. So most of us run round, like headless chickens. We can't see the wood from the trees. And if you imagine those little snow globe ornaments where you shake them up and down and all the snow kind of scatters around, that's kind of how we walk around through the day, with those 60,000 thoughts swimming around in our head. When we sit still to meditate, it's like those snow kind of subsides, doesn't it? After a few minutes, maybe after 10, 15 minutes, the thoughts subside. That mental chatter slows down as a result of being still. Of course, when we sit down initially, the thoughts are everywhere and it doesn't feel very good because there's an expectation that we're going to be all zen if we just sit still and breathe. Well, that's not going to happen. Not initially when you start anyway. The thoughts will explode as soon as you sit still. But if you continue to sit still and follow the breath, then they start to subside. So meditation is really the most powerful mental and nerve tonic that you can get. And of course, it's free. But what's in the way is our own mind. Our own mind is the biggest obstacle standing between ourselves and this awareness, this consciousness. And of course, the mind is undisciplined. It's unruly, and it resists any attempts to discipline it or guide it on a particular path because essentially it's lazy. And there's no quick fix to learning meditation. You just got to put the time in. Like the Nike saying, just do it. Sit there. Sit there. It's like you're training a dog. You'll sit there and you won't move. And of course, the body's all restless. There's always something better to do, except there isn't in reality. But if you can train yourself just to sit there and overcome the restlessness of the body, the nervousness, the tension of the body, and just persist every day to sit and be still, eventually the body will start to calm down. The mind will start to calm down. But getting past those initial stages is quite difficult for most people because the mind is busy. You know, sometimes we feel guilty. We should be doing something else. And the mind is still busy and you can't calm it down. And that creates tension in the mind. We think, oh, we're no good at this. What's the point? I'll just give up. You know, while we're sitting, we're trying to observe our thinking and how negative our thinking can actually be. Time wasted dwelling on the past. And a good technique to actually observe your own thinking, because this is when we get to observe the contents of our mind and how our thoughts are and how our thinking is, because thinking is a habit. We think a particular way. A good exercise to do is just write on a piece of paper a subject. Could be money, could be love, could be career, could be anything. And then just write the first things that come into your mind regarding that subject. Maybe the first 10 things that come into your mind, if you can think of 10 things. And then maybe do it for a different subject. And then add up how many positive thoughts there are versus how many negative thoughts there are. And get a guide of how negative or positive your thinking can be. Is it glass half full, glass half empty? Just an exercise, of observation of how your own thinking is. Because the real goal of meditation is to go beyond the conditioned mind, the patterned mind, and experience our true nature. What I mean by our true nature is our soul, an experience of the true essence of what we are at our core, our authentic self, the soul, the spirit, the essence. And meditation really teaches you to explore those inner dimensions. And it's a practical means for calming yourself, letting go of your biases and seeing what is. So it's really committing yourself to the path or to the goal of knowing yourself. And it opens the door to creativity, to intuition or inner guidance or sixth sense, if you like, and into that infinite well of wisdom, because they say that all of the answers lie within us. It's just we're too busy living life in our head to see or access them, and we don't know how. We've lost that. So self-knowledge, the goal of knowing ourselves, is really the first step to self-improvement. Raising our consciousness, becoming more self-aware, raising our vibration. So making changes to our outer circumstances begins really with seeing which thoughts created that which you're trying to change. How did I come to be in this position? You can track it back. Look at the thoughts. You know, everything we do starts first with a thought. If we want a cup of tea, we've got to think that first. You know, nobody committed suicide without first having suicidal thoughts. The thoughts come first, and then the mind gets caught up in the churning. And that's what we're here in this course to examine, how the mind works. Because the mind is constantly conversing with itself, replaying past events, rearranging them into a better drama, planning for the future. That endless churning of the mind, it never stops. And that's what we get to observe during meditation. Is the mind working for you, or is it against you? Because when the mind is against you, it becomes a monster. So we need to be the master of the mind. And it all starts with meditation. So how do we meditate? Well, there's not really a right way. People think that something is supposed to happen. People think their breath will be easy and the mind will be blank. That's not going to happen. So think about your attitude when you sit down to meditate. Your attitude should be one of unconditional friendliness towards the process itself. Be open, friendly, the right attitude. Practice because you care. You care about yourself and your mental health, not because you should, not because somebody's told you to do it. And yes, initially, I agree, it might feel like homework and that somebody is telling you to do it. And we don't feel very good because we're not good at it. Just like you go to the gym for the very first time. You're not going to be great at the gym because you're not strong. And the same here. You're not going to be great at meditation because you're new to it and you haven't trained the mind in mental attention. So it feels that we're out of our comfort zone. It's easy to give up. But with practice, patience, persistence, and perseverance, you'll get there. It becomes a habit. And what initially feels like homework, something you should do, when you start to do it regularly, you start to feel the benefits. I'm calmer. I'm less reactive. I'm a better communicator. I make better decisions. My day flows much more smoothly. I'm way more focused. I have more energy. All of these things that you start to notice when you start to meditate regularly. So then what was homework, when you start to feel the benefits kick in, you think, actually, I'm really enjoying this. I totally understand because I had to go through that experience to come out the other side and understand the benefits and how good it feels and how my day flows more smoothly. And then what was homework becomes your sanctuary. I need to meditate just to, reduce my stress and calm my mind down and feel good, connecting with myself. So there's got to be a readiness to turn inwards, to take the journey inwards and accept and sit patiently with whatever comes to your mind, with whatever arises. And thoughts will arise, feelings will arise. Old memories start to bubble up from the subconscious, maybe painful memories. Feelings and sensations, these all come up when you sit quietly. And the trick is to have witness consciousness, not to get involved, not to wonder, why am I seeing this? Why has that come up? Not to overanalyze or try to interpret the reason that things have come up. It's just to sit patiently, like you're watching a movie, passively noticing and then letting go. Things come up for a reason. So sit with relaxed attention, no striving effort. You're not trying to force anything because that takes mental effort. Relaxed attention. And of course, the mind may wander. So don't force the mind to be still. Again, that takes mental effort. When you know the mind's wandered, kind of bring it back to your breath. So think of your awareness, your consciousness, the real you, like the hub of a wheel. So think of a bike. It has that central hub where we want to be, right in the middle. And then things grab our attention. And it's like your attention's drifted along the spoke to the actual outer rim of the wheel. And then we come back to the hub again. And then something else grabs our attention. It's like it's gone along another spoke to the outer rim. So again, trying to bring our attention back to our core, to the here, to the now. And just notice thoughts and feelings. Whatever arises, just allow it to unfold just as it is. And allow the experience to just be without any judgment whatsoever. But you'll come across some challenges when you start to meditate. As soon as you sit down, that the mind starts to churn. We get lost in thought. Maybe we're doing homework in our head. Maybe we're planning this evening's meal in our heads. The mind gets lost in thought. The mind jumps from the past to the future. Sometimes we just get bored. Oh God, how long have I got to sit here again? Oh, isn't there something better to do? Boredom. Sometimes we fall asleep. The body starts to slump. When we sit down, we relax, we think, oh, and that kind of sinking state. And we kind of fall asleep. Sometimes we do fall asleep. Other times it's the opposite. We feel restless. And we have that jumpy energy, like restless leg. We can't sit still, ants in our pants. We get agitated. We can experience that kind of energy, which is the opposite of sleepiness. And of course, there's expectations. Well, we have preconceived ideas. I know a friend, she always gets colours. She sees visions. So expectations of what we want to happen or not happen. And often that kind of grasping energy means we're wanting more or something different from what is actually being presented to us. So expectations, try to lose them. We can intellectualize what is happening or not. We can overanalyze what we're experiencing or not. So the goal is to be free from those expectations or wanting more than what is being presented. So these are the typical kind of things that happen when we sit down to meditate in the early days. But it's important not to think of these experiences as hindrances. They're just experiences. Think of it as a different form of energy: jumpy, restless energy, sleepy energy, zoning out energy, lost in thought. They're just things that happen, but don't let it deter you from just doing the work. Just sit and do it anyway, because eventually the body will calm down. It will get used to it. And that's when you start to see the benefits. But this is the time that people tend to give up because they don't persist or persevere enough. They haven't got the patience. They want it yesterday. They don't want to put the effort and the work in. But this is work. And it's the best piece of work that you will ever do. Think of yourself as the greatest oil painting ever. Go to work on yourself before you will go to actual work. Make time for yourself in the morning, to do a breathwork practice or to do a meditation, because you'll notice a massive difference in your day when you can do that. So let's finish by talking about breathing. Breathing is the only autonomic system of the body that we can bring under conscious control. Our breath is an indicator of our mood, and our mood is an indicator of our breath. If we change how we breathe, we change our mood. So think what happens when we're stressed or fearful or anxious or nervous. Automatically, the breathing speeds up. It becomes shorter, more shallow, and we engage in upper chest breathing or stress breathing. When we're nice and relaxed, we breathe more slowly, more deeply, more into the lower belly. So our breath follows our emotions by speeding up when we're angry, nervous, tense, stressed, or anxious. So if our breath follows our emotions, then we can get our emotions in check by regulating our breath and doing conscious breathing. Physiological evidence indicates that a single breathing practice significantly reduces blood pressure. Psychologists have found that deep breathing is effective in fighting anxiety, depression, and stress. When you think of the billions of pounds spent on medication to treat anxiety and depression, money wasted really treating the symptom but not actually the root cause. We're always searching for the answer outside of us when we actually have the tools inside, and these tools are free. It used to be that back pain was the number one reason for having sickness from work. But now depression and anxiety is now the number one disability. And roughly 1/4 of us are taking some kind of antidepressants or anti-anxiety drugs. So we're not really a very happy nation. In America, the CDC declared sleep dysfunction is now at epidemic levels. We're not really in good shape as a nation. There was an interesting study done back in 2013 by Stanford Research Institute, who took a number of US combat veterans who'd been in Afghanistan and Iraq, all with PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. And they taught them yoga and yoga breathing. And the facilitator reported back that it was mostly the yoga breathing that affected them. Now, in case you're not aware, there was about 22 suicides a day. 22 veterans a day lost in the US to suicide. And they were currently being treated with mainly medication and therapy, which perhaps really wasn't working because of the rate of suicide. And that after doing the yoga breathing, the symptoms were gone after 3 months. And they didn't even return a year later. No side effects, no cost, all free. Just conscious breathing. The study was so successful that the US Defense Department was now advocating yoga breath work for veterans. And actually, the Navy SEALs also use breath work to focus and calm before they go into battle. So these practices and technologies really work. When you think about it, it's biologically impossible to have a panic attack when your breathing is slow and deep. Many people don't actually breathe very well. We've lost the ability, in many cases, to breathe consciously and deeply. Most people don't breathe correctly. They engage in shallow, erratic, upper chest breathing. Lack of relaxation and well-being inhibits good breathing. So of all the positive changes that you can make in your life, learning to breathe deeply and completely is one of the most effective for developing higher consciousness, increasing health, vitality, and connectedness in your life. Remember, the mind follows the breath. So the key to controlling the mind is to control the breath. So let's sit for a moment and do one complete breath. What I'd like you to do, whether you're sitting or lying on your back, is to place one hand just above the pubic bone, just below the navel. The other hand placed in the center of your chest. When we take a breath in, what I'd like you to do is only allow one hand to move. So we're first of all going to initially breathe into the lower abdomen. So as you inhale, the hand that's on your upper chest should not move. It shouldn't rise. So you take the breath in low and slow, breathing in through the nostrils and allowing that lower belly to inflate like a balloon, filling with air. So the hand on that lower belly would be pushed upwards, but the other hand remains absolutely still. There's no movement in the chest. And then exhale. Now keep the lower belly still and flat. And with the power of your mind and intention, just take the breath and move the hand that's on your upper chest. So you fill your lungs, rib cage, and upper chest with air, but the hand on the abdomen doesn't move. So you've been able to direct the breath into two different parts of the body. The third part is your throat. If you can imagine being strangled and you're fighting and gasping for breath, it just goes right into the throat and not beyond there. To take a full, slow and complete breath, long, deep breathing, we'll use all three parts. So when we take the breath in initially, we're going to breathe into the lower belly first, inflating that area and the hand that is in between the pubic bone and the navel. And then continue breathing. So you're breathing from filling the bottom upwards. So from the abdomen, then fill the mid-chest, all the way up to the high chest. And then exhale, flattening the belly, the mid-chest, and the high chest. Relaxing everything else, neck, shoulders, facial muscles. Long, slow, deep breathing. It's a practice that will bring you into the now and is also a great preparation for meditation. Now it's time for the practical element to begin. The strawberry exercise, mindful eating. So first of all, take the strawberry in your hand and hold it in your palm or between your finger and your thumb. First of all, focus on the sense of seeing. So take time to really focus on the strawberry, gazing at it with care and attention. Imagine that you've just dropped in from a different planet and you've never even seen an object like this before in your life. So just allow your eyes to explore every part of it, examining where the light shines, the darker hollows, any highlights, the folds, any asymmetries, any ridges, any changes in colour, any unique features at all. Now your sense of touch. Just turn the strawberry over in your fingers and explore its texture. Maybe do this with your eyes closed so that it enhances your sense of touch. Now waking up your sense of smell. Just holding the strawberry beneath your nose. And with each inhalation, take in the smell, the fragrance, any aroma that might arise. And as you do this, just notice if anything interesting happens in your stomach or your mouth as a result of you smelling the strawberry. Now, slowly bring the strawberry up towards your lips, noticing how your hand and arm know exactly where to place it. And then gently place the strawberry in your mouth without chewing, noticing how it gets into your mouth in the first place. Just spend a few moments focusing on the sensations of having it in your mouth without chewing, just exploring it with your tongue. When you're ready, prepare to chew the strawberry, just noticing how and where it needs to be for chewing. And then very consciously take 1 or 2 bites into it and notice what happens in the aftermath, experiencing any waves of taste that come from it as you continue to chew, but without swallowing. Just noticing the bare sensations of taste and texture in your mouth and how these may change over time, moment by moment. Also pay attention to any changes in the object itself. When you feel ready to swallow the strawberry, see if you can first detect the intention to swallow as that comes up, so that even this is experienced consciously before you actually swallow the strawberry. And finally, see if you can feel what's left of the strawberry moving down into your stomach, and sense how your body as a whole is feeling after you've completed this exercise. So this exercise really just shows how we try to focus on bringing all of our attention into the moment, not multitasking. Often when we eat, we might be watching TV or reading the newspaper. We might be answering emails. We could be on our phone. We could be eating on the move in the car. But how often do we really sit down and pay attention to the task in hand? When we slow down and just do this simple task of eating, we bring awareness to all of our 5 senses. And when we bring attention and focus on one task, thinking about all of our 5 senses, then it really enhances the experience of eating and brings us into the moment, because that's what mindfulness is all about. Living in the moment, not allowing our attention to be grabbed by news, phones, any external influences. And usually, whatever we do mindfully, we do a much better job. Just spend a few moments getting yourself comfortable, allowing this time for you to get into the headspace for meditation. Gradually shutting out the outside world. Just visualize your body lying on the floor in this room. And allow a sense of heaviness to come over your body as you start to let go of your day. This is an exercise of observation. You'll do a body scan and observe each part of your body passively, just noticing, without the need to make any changes or to cause anything to occur. You can simply watch and take note of any changes that happen all on their own without any effort on your part. Let's begin. Turn your attention to your toes. Without moving your toes, just focus your awareness on each and every toe. And just noticing how your toes feel right now. Noticing each individual toe separately. Just concentrate now on your right foot. Just noticing your right foot without trying to change anything. Observe any sensation that may occur. And then move your attention to your left foot. Noticing how your left foot feels. Does it feel the same or different to your right foot? Now observe both feet together. How do your feet feel? Notice the temperature of your feet. What can you feel touching your feet? Clothing, the floor, the air. Notice how your feet feel inside. Heavy, light, loose, tense. Notice these passive observations. You are just an observer, like a witness watching a movie, not providing any input whatsoever. Now continue the body scan up to your ankles. Notice your ankles. Feel your ankles. Moving up now to your lower legs. Focus on your lower legs. Concentrating all of your attention on simply observing how your lower legs feel right now. Observing, noticing any sensations, completely passive, not trying to change a thing. Mentally scan your knees. Notice and observe each knee. The right knee, and the left knee. And take note of how your upper legs are feeling. heavy, light. Just notice your legs, taking note of any passive observations you may become aware of. Any sensations or feelings within the upper leg. And then just let your attention move to the next area. Noticing now your hips, your pelvis, your lower abdomen, a sense of heaviness in the bones. Notice if there's any tension in the abdomen, any tightness in the hips. Moving up now all the way to the center of your body. The very core of your being. At the level of the belly button, just scan your body and notice how your center feels. Just observing, mentally watching, taking in all of the details of how your body is feeling. Doing a passive scan without making any changes or trying to make anything happen at all. Now observe your spine. Noticing how your back feels. If there's any stiffness. Or if your spine and back muscles feel relaxed. Now scan your sides, your waist, and moving up to your chest. Observe any tightness. Any sensations around the heart and the ribs, just noticing, passively observing. And then turn your attention now to your fingertips. How do the tips of your fingers feel? Make a mental note of your hands, the back of the hands, the palm of the hands, observing the temperature of both hands. Now scanning the wrists, and the lower arms, all the way up to the elbows. And then then turn your attention to your upper arms, observing, noticing, making a mental note of how your upper arms feel right now. Draw your attention to your shoulders, mentally scanning the front, the sides, the back, and the top of the shoulders. And then scan your arms as a whole, just noticing passively, watching, allowing, no effort whatsoever. Not trying to change a thing. And continue all the way up to your neck, noticing and observing your neck, the front, each side, and the back of the neck. And then moving your attention a little higher to the chin, the lips, and the cheeks. Observing your nose, your eyes, your ears, the forehead, and the top of the head. Now, do a full body scan, all the way from the feet to the head at your own pace, taking your time. Scanning the body up and down. Just noticing without any judgment whatsoever. If something of interest grabs your attention, you might choose to allow your focus and your awareness to linger just for a moment as you observe how your muscles, bones and tissues are feeling. Just mentally scan and observe your body. So now that you're fully aware of how your body is feeling, you've now completed the body scan. So just notice how you're feeling right now, mentally, physically, and emotionally. Observe if there any changes have occurred, all on their own. Take a deep breath in through the nose. Pause the breath. And then exhale. Inhale a second time, nice and deep, through the nostrils, filling the body full of oxygen, energizing the cells, and exhale fully. One last time, inhaling deeply, inhaling peace, harmony, tranquility, and exhaling any stress, tension, or pressure. Start to wiggle the fingers and the toes, bringing your body and your mind back into the room. Visualizing yourself lying on the floor in this room. And starting to take your mind out completely externally, listening to the sounds around you. The body scan is now complete. When you feel ready, slowly open the eyes. And take your time to roll onto your side. And when you feel ready, you're free to come up slowly, head last of all, tucking the chin in. And relax. This conscious breathing technique is all about counting the breath and really becoming aware of how we breathe. This process of breathing has been occurring naturally throughout our life, and it's something we take for granted. We're rarely even aware of one breath. So we're going to be lying down on our back in Shavasana, and we're going to become aware of our conscious breathing. So lying on our back, if it feels more comfortable to have the knees bent, then that's fine. Otherwise, we're just going to lie in that relaxation position with our arms down by our side in corpse pose and the backs of our hands on the floor. And we're going to close our eyes here. Just turning our attention away from any external distractions and just taking our focus internally. And we just really begin by observing the natural ebb and flow of our in-breath and our out-breath. You're not trying to change the natural rhythm here. It's automatic. It's unconscious. You're not doing it. There is no effort. So you're really just going to be the witness to that natural rhythm that occurs automatically. Not interfering or trying to change that rhythm in any way. Just passively noticing. First of all, notice if your breathing is fast or if it's slow. So observing the pace and the speed. Is your breath shallow or is it deep? Just passively witnessing, not trying to change a thing. An exercise in observation and noticing. Is the breath regular or irregular? Just making a mental note of your own breathing. Notice if there are any gaps in between breaths. And now we're going to begin to consciously breathe in through the abdomen and through the chest. So that as you inhale, you feel your abdomen and chest expand. It's like you're filling yourself with air, like a balloon filling with air. And to make a mental note to yourself to say, I'm consciously breathing into the abdomen. And I'm consciously breathing out from the abdomen. I'm consciously breathing in from the abdomen. I'm consciously breathing out from the abdomen. Allowing the belly to softly inflate and deflate with each and every breath. And now we begin to count each breath silently to ourselves in our mind. And we count the breath from 27 down to 0. The purpose isn't necessarily to reach 0, but to actually just focus consciously on each and every breath through the lungs. So it goes something like this, mentally saying to yourself, 27, abdomen rising, 27, abdomen falling. 26, abdomen rising. 26, abdomen falling. And if you lose count, you're meant to go back to start at breath 27 here. So it's an exercise in concentration, focusing our mind on each and every single breath. So now we begin. I'm going to count you down from 27 down to breath 20. And then I'm going to leave you to count from breath 20 all the way down to breath 0. So you'll need to focus your mind and stay alert. We begin now. 27, abdomen rising. 27, abdomen falling. 26, abdomen rising. 26, abdomen falling. 25, abdomen rising. 25, abdomen falling. 24, abdomen rising. 24, abdomen falling. 23, abdomen rising. 23, abdomen falling. 22, abdomen rising. 22, abdomen falling. 21, abdomen rising. 21, abdomen falling. Now continue on your own from breath 20 down to 0. Now stop your counting and just allow the breath to return to its normal, natural rhythm. Gently bend the knees. And open your eyes. Just wiggling the fingers and the toes. And when you feel ready, gently roll to your side. And then head last, tucking the chin in, slowly bring yourself up back to that sitting position. First of all, observing how you feel mentally, physically, and emotionally as you start to come back to yourself. And also notice if you were able to keep your focus and the concentration and your mind mentally counting each breath, or did you drift off? Was your awareness drifting and then coming back? Did you have to start back at the beginning? So it's an awareness in attention and focus, awareness of each breath. And with training and practice, it will become easier to keep that mental focus on each and every breath. I hope you enjoyed the episode. For further information, resources, or to make a donation, visit www.emmanewhamfitness.com. Thanks.